Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a law from 1968 that might sound a little, dry, but it's actually this fascinating blueprint for how a state controls an entire industry. We're going to see how the Telangana Excise Act governs everything from a single palm tree to a modern distillery, all in the name of regulation and revenue. So, we're going to follow what I like to call the life cycle of liquor as it's laid out in this law. First, we'll figure out what the Act even considers an intoxicant. Then, we'll explore the rules for making and selling it, see how the government gets its cut, find out what happens when you break those rules, and finally, meet the people who enforce it all.
All right, let's get right into it. Every law has to start with definitions, right? And in this case, they are absolutely key to understanding the state's power. The big question is, what is the government actually trying to control here? And, well, as you're about to see, the answer is pretty much everything.
The law's definition of liquor is, wow, incredibly far-reaching. This isn't just about the obvious stuff like beer and wine. Nope, it includes traditional toddy, even industrial alcohol, the stuff you're not supposed to drink. And then there's this really powerful catch-all phrase, any liquid containing alcohol. That one little phrase right there is the foundation for the state's massive regulatory power.
And get this, the regulation doesn't just stop with the finished product. The law is so specific, it even defines which trees fall under its control. Yup, you heard that right. Trees. An excise tree can be a coconut, palm, or date palm. It just goes to show you, this law isn't some generic template. It's been tailored very precisely to the local resources and traditional products of the region. All right, so we know what they're regulating. Now let's get into the how. This next step in the life cycle is all about the rule book for making, moving, and selling liquor. And spoiler alert, this is where the state's control becomes just absolute. Okay, so the main idea here, it's really simple. Nothing, and I mean nothing, happens without a license. Section 13 makes this crystal clear. From the very first moment someone taps a tree to the final step of bottling it all up for sale, every single stage of production is basically a government checkpoint. You need specific approval for everything. The Act is also super precise about what it means to move alcohol around. It's not all the same in the eyes of the law. Importing means bringing it into Telangana. Exporting is taking it out. And transporting, that's just moving it around within the state's borders. And each of these actions, they all require different permits. It's how the government tracks and taxes every single movement.
And what's interesting is that the rules go way beyond just the product itself. Section 19 actually dips into public health and labor laws. It makes it really clear. Licensees are forbidden from hiring children or anyone with a contagious disease on the premises. It's a good reminder that the Act's purpose isn't just about revenue. It's also about trying to maintain some level of public order and safety.
Okay, let's be real. A huge reason for all this control is, you guessed it, revenue. So, how does the government actually get its cut from this whole liquor life cycle? Well, the Act lays out this really multi-layered system of duties, fees, and taxes. So, the state has a few different tools in its toolbox for collecting revenue. You've got your basic excise duty on anything made right there in Telangana. Then, to kind of protect the local guys, there's a countervailing duty on liquor that's imported from other states in India. Businesses can also pay these big fees for exclusive privilege, which is basically buying the right to be the only seller in a certain area. And they even collect money right at the source by taxing the individual toddy trees themselves. They cover all the bases. And the law is built to be flexible too. Section 28 lets the government create new targeted taxes whenever they need to, whether it's on a little retail shop or a fancy bar. You can think of it as a financial safety net, making sure that revenue can be captured from pretty much every possible angle of the business. So, when you have a system this complex and one that generates so much money, breaking the rules, well, that's going to come with some serious consequences. Chapter 7 of the Act is all about the offenses and the really stiff penalties that come right after. And the list of offenses is huge. I mean, it covers all the illegal business stuff you'd expect, of course, but it also gets into public safety issues like adulterating liquor or a licensee just behaving badly. The law even protects its own revenue source by making it illegal to just chop down an excise tree without permission. And these penalties, wow, they leave absolutely no doubt about how serious these crimes are. If someone dies because of adulterated liquor, the punishment can be life in prison. Even just large-scale smuggling can get you up to 5 years behind bars. The state is sending a very, very clear message. don't mess with public safety, and don't mess with our revenue. But, not every single violation is going to land you in prison. For certain offenses, the law actually offers a more pragmatic alternative. Section 47 allows for something called compounding. This is where a licensee can pay a pretty substantial fine. We're talking up to 3 lakh rupees to settle the matter and avoid getting their license canceled. It's a really expensive way to stay in business for sure. All right, so we've got definitions, we've got rules, taxes, and penalties. But who actually enforces all this stuff? The final piece of our life cycle puzzle is the people who are tasked with upholding this super complex law. So, the Act creates this very specific enforcement body, the Prohibition and Excise Officers. This isn't your regular police force, not exactly. It's a dedicated group with its own clear chain of command, from the top commissioner all the way down to the officers you'd see in the field. And let me tell you, these officers are given some serious power to do their jobs. They can arrest suspects without a warrant for major offenses, they can seize illegal liquor and any vehicles used to move it, and they can search people and property. They basically have investigative authority that's very similar to the police, which makes them a really formidable enforcement agency. So there you have it. From defining a single palm tree all the way to granting the power of arrest, the Telangana Excise Act of 1968 basically creates this complete, self-contained universe of control over the entire liquor industry. It's an incredibly powerful tool for both generating revenue and maintaining public order, which kind of leaves us with one final question to think about, right? This framework was set up over 50 years ago. So how do you think a law like this continues to shape business, culture, and even state finances here in the 21st century? Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.